So you've just bought your new Raspberry Pi and now it's time to get it working. Alright, so this is the Raspberry Pi here. It's just got a USB connected to it at the moment, so we can actually connect a keyboard and mouse to it. If we follow the wire back there, we're actually using a Belkin powered USB hub because the Raspberry Pi hasn't really got enough power to be able to power many USB devices. So we've now got the keyboard and the mouse plugged in to the Raspberry Pi. You can also see around here there's a few other little peripherals that are going to be used later with the Raspberry Pi once we've set it up. First thing we need to do is look at this little thing here, and this is the SD card, and this is going to hold the operating system, so we need to set that up. Now you can set the SD card up on all different types of platforms, but as you can see here, I've got a Mac, so I'm going to use the Mac. Just plug it in at the side. And then if we notice on the desktop, we've just had the disk appear called Untitled. So now we use a terminal to create our operating system SD card for the Raspberry Pi. So let's open up terminal. Okay, once we're in terminal, first thing we need to do is we actually need to unmount this disk here. Now I know that this one's actually dev disk 1 S1, and we can find that out by actually just typing in df-h, and we'll see there the main disk for the computer, for the Mac, is this one here, and we can see down here that this volume's Untitled, and if we look at the size, that's the one that we want. So I need to unmount that, and I need to put my super user password in, which has just unmounted the disk, and now I can actually burn the image that I downloaded earlier from the Raspberry Pi website. As you can see, this image here is 2013 0209 wizzyraspbian.img. If yours is more up to date than this, then that might change, so you'll have to change that accordingly. Okay, so I just press enter, and this bit will take a little bit of time to process. Now, it won't actually do anything at the moment, but to see an update we can press Ctrl and T, and we can see that there's been a few bytes transferred already, and this will take a few minutes. So in the meantime, let's have a look at the peripherals for the Raspberry Pi. We can see here that I've actually got what looks like a USB dongle, and this is actually the Wi-Fi adapter that's supplied by Element 14, and this works with the Raspberry Pi without a problem. So I've got one of these so I can have Wi-Fi access. You'll also see this device here. This is the, again, Element 14 HDMI to Vga converter, so I can actually use the HDMI output on the Raspberry Pi. It doesn't convert the audio as well, so we do have to use the analog audio ports on the Raspberry Pi. And you can see here I've actually got a case, the Pibo, which is a very useful case. We'll be putting it on in a minute, but I just wanted to show you the actual Raspberry Pi as it comes straight out the box. So we can see here the Raspberry Pi. It is the version 1, so there isn't a reset button on this one. However, the newer versions with the 512 meg of RAM have got the reset button on. You can see the analog video out, the audio out, two USBs, we've got Ethernet connection, HDMI out, and a few more things such as the GPIO pins here and the connection for the camera module. Okay, so we've just got the power on the end as well. Right, so those are the different devices that we're using. I've got a speaker set up as well, just so that we can connect the 3.5mm audio jack when it comes to it. Another useful piece of kit could be a battery unit, so that when we do set it up to be headless, so we don't need a screen or a keyboard, we can use the battery and then power it, obviously without the plug. Just inside here there's also another device, the Pi face, supplied by Element 14 again, developed at Manchester University. This is a very nice in-out board that incorporates buttons, inputs, outputs, and we've got 2 relays with the associated connections there. We can also add the current in there so we can get power to the board, and we've got various jumpers which change the state of the board. We've also got a row of LEDs just inside there which are in line with the outputs. Okay, so we'll now notice that the disk has been written. We can eject that, and then I can just take it out. I'll simply remove it from the computer. And there we go, it's all ready. I've actually written on there just Raspberry and Wheezy, output and SPI and Pi face, because those are 2 functions that I'm going to add to it in a bit. It's got 16 at the top, it's a 16GB card, and I will expand the partition to fill that when we start up the Raspberry Pi. So now it's ready, I can put it into my Raspberry Pi. So if I just pick up the Raspberry Pi and simply turn it over to where the SD card goes and plug it in. So that is, make sure the contacts are touching, and that's the SD card set up and ready to go. So we've put the SD card in, and we can boot up now. We can just put the power in, but we wouldn't be able to see anything, so we need to fix in the Vga converter into the HDMI socket. So I just take the lid off that, plug that in there. Make sure we always plug in any kind of device without the power on. So that's in there now. I can connect up my VGA lead. So the VGA lead is now set up. I'll just carefully plug in the power. See the lights start up, and we should see something happening on our screen, which it is. So that's just loading up for the first time. So we can see here that the Raspberry Pi has booted up and gone into the raspi-config. First thing we're going to do is come down to the second option and expand the root partition. So just press enter on that, and there we go. It's resized. I don't want to change the overscan at the moment. That just is to do with the setup of the video out, and I've actually got mine set up as I want at the moment. You can configure the keyboard if you want, set up to your locality or type of keyboard, and you can change the password for the Pi user at this stage. That's what I would recommend. So just go into there, and it says you'll now be asked to enter a new password for the Pi user. Press OK again. So just enter a new password. Okay, and the password's changed. If you leave the default password of Raspberry, then anybody can effectively access your system. So we press OK there. Okay, so we can set the time zone. and here we need to go into, well, set it for wherever you are. I'm in Europe and I'm in England, so I'm going to find London. Went past it. There we go, it's just changed the time zone. And the memory split, we can actually change the CPU to GPU memory split, and I actually want the GPU to have a little bit more than that. And I've only got 256 in total, so I'm going to split it to 128, half. At the moment I don't want to overclock the processor. I want to try and get as long a life as I can out of it, so I'm going to leave it at 700 megahertz. I want to enable the SSH because I want to be able to access the command line tool, or I want to use some other kind of terminal from another computer to be able to access the Pi. And at boot, if you go into here, it will enable you to boot up to the desktop straight away, otherwise it will leave you with the command line tool. The desktop is the graphical user interface, so it's kind of more similar to a Windows type of atmosphere, or OS X if you haven't used Linux before. In this instance, I'm going to say yes, but I can change that back in a bit, which I will do. Okay, so once we've set the boot behaviour, it's gone to finish, and that should take us back out to the command line prompt. So now at the command line prompt, let's start up the desktop, and to do this we need to type in startx. You'll see here that now the desktop session is loading. And there we go, we have Raspberry Pi set up and has booted into the desktop X session. So now let's just shut it down, because we need to plug in the Wi-Fi adapter, and we don't really want to do that when it's powered up. So we can use a mouse, come down to the menu, click on log out, click on log out again, and it takes us back to the command line menu. And to shut down, I need to just type in sudo shutdown -h now. So essentially that's reading super user shutdown halt now. When we press enter, that will shut the system down. And there we go, the Raspberry Pi is now shut down.